Hey guys, what is going on? So Gorilla Mind is finally revamping their Gorilla Mode pre-workout after, 4+ years of being one of the best-selling pre-workouts in the world. One of, if not the most, effective formulas. And it's really been a game-changing product. For people who were kind of around when this launched, and know about pre-workouts prior to, 2020 or so, the labels just did not even remotely compare to what they are now, because this product really changed everything. This is their, flagship best-selling product, and having the maxed out label, having, no proprietary blend on here, it really just kind of changed the game. And even 4 years later, it still is one of the best, if not the best pre-workouts out there. But you can always improve, and over the last, 4+ years, they have figured out a way to make it better, add new ingredients, take some out, and we have the new Gorilla Mode 2.0, which this thing is a substantial improvement. So this is not just like a slight difference. You're getting a lot more actives in this formula, and in terms of what they added in terms of what they took out, it really is a game-changing difference. So if you thought this was the best, this is so much better. And I, coming from somebody who, I really took Gorilla Mode and got into it in the first place for, kind of the pump products. That's really what got me into the brand, having, a maxed out dose of pure L-citrulline. Creatine's in there as well. There's a lot of different things. I could go on and on about this original formula. But a lot of people do tend to gravitate towards Gorilla Mode for the pump, and that's great, but nitric takes that to the next level. And so I've always been a guy who's taken nitric. If you're not familiar with that, that's the stim-free version of Gorilla Mode. So I really wasn't somebody who used regular Gorilla Mode all that much, but over time, as I have grown, more used to taking the nootropic formulas and really kind of taken advantage of things like L-tyrosine, alpha GPC, I have really kind of started to, stack things like Gorilla Mind Smooth, or even just regular Gorilla Mind, which has the caffeine, with my nitric. And so this has really kind of been my go-to bread and butter over the past several months, is really kind of maxing out that nootropic side of things. And that's where this one really shines in terms of what it adds to the formula. So this, you're getting your stims, you're getting your pump. This is, again, probably to this day one of the best all-around pre-workouts. But this one takes the nootropics to the next level, gives you that, focus that you really want. And I'll talk about the specific ingredients in here that make that a possibility. But coming from somebody who has had, years to experience the differences between different formulas, different products and stuff like that, I very much appreciate what they did with this formula. And this is honestly pretty much exactly how I would formulate my own pre-workout. It has everything that I want in here, and it has some of the stuff that I'm glad they took out as well from this old formula, and it doesn't have things, like beta-alanine and stuff like that. So without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and compare kind of the key differences between these formulas. So first one, everybody knows about the pump. Everybody knows that this is one of the best pump products while also being a stim product. And all they did was just make that just a little bit better. So they didn't go crazy on improving the pump, because it was already, just about as good as you can get. But as opposed to 9 grams of pure L-citrulline in this old formula, they bumped it up to 10. So that's what nitric has. So is that going to be game changing? Probably not. You're still going to get an amazing pump with this at 9 grams, but you are getting that additional gram of L-citrulline. You're still getting the 5 grams of creatine monohydrate. In terms of another product in here that is important for the pump, this had Glycer Pump at 3 grams. Glycer Pump, if you guys don't know, is just a more efficient way to have glycerol, which is one of my favorite products. I absolutely love glycerol. I take it separately. I take it in the Hydro Prime version, and so that is a more concentrated version. And one of the major drawbacks of Glycer Pump is the fact that it makes your formula kind of gritty. It makes it kind of hard, chalky. As it kind of sits there, it'll get a little bit clumpy and stuff like that. So Glacier Pump's great. If you have the pre-workout for longer than like a couple months or whatever, then it might end up making the formula or just the scoop a little bit harder, and just overall the clumpiness and the grittiness is just not appreciated by a lot of people. And so that's why I really like Hydro Prime, and that's what I add into my I always supplement with Hydro Prime on top of my pre-workout because I really like the pump that it gives me in terms of the hyperhydration, everything like that. I think that's a key element. I've made videos in the past talking about how much I like glycerol, and so Hydro Prime's, that's personally what I use. And so they switched over to Hydro Prime on this. And so as opposed to 3 grams of Glacier Pump, you have 4 grams of Hydro Prime. So that's, not only is that a more effective product in my opinion, but the lack of the grittiness, it's more of a fine creatine-like powder when you have Hydro Prime. And so I think that's just, both in terms of the consistency of the product and the effectiveness of it, I do think that Hydro Prime is better than Glacier Pump, so that's definitely an upgrade in my opinion. They also, in terms of betaine and hydrous, so this has, a couple different things, but pump is one of the major reasons why this is in the product. 2,500 milligrams in the old, Gorilla Mode formula, and in the new one, you have 4 grams, 4,000 milligrams. So going from 2,500 to 4,000, that's obviously, a decent upgrade. That has, effects in terms of power output as well as it's effective for the pump. So that kind of, 2 birds with 1 stone there. The next thing that I think is really, a game changer in terms of the nootropic side of things. So this is where I think this really shines. So obviously those differences that I talked about make the pump just a little bit better, even though you probably didn't even need more of a pump from the original formula. You are getting a little bit more. But in terms of the nootropic side of things, this is where I think it really shines. So old formula, it had this ingredient, but it had 1,500 milligrams of L-tyrosine, which is a pretty good dose. You're definitely going to notice that. But anybody who's tried Respawn from Gorilla Mind, which that is personally my favorite product. I absolutely love Respawn. I take it all the time. That is probably my most used product that Gorilla Mind has. They do a full 5 grams, so 5,000 milligrams of L-tyrosine. This one only has 1,500, so you're still going to get something out of it. So Gorilla Mind decided to take that same idea of having that massive dose of L-tyrosine, bring it over to the new Gorilla Mind formula, putting it at 5 grams, which I absolutely love. Tyrosine is one of my favorite ingredients. Even at the 1,500 milligrams, again, you're definitely going to notice it. But this just takes it to a whole nother level. And again, coming from somebody who really likes Respawn, I start to think, and I don't take Respawn as a pre-workout, but I definitely do take, Gorilla Mind Smooth which has L-tyrosine, has other things in there as well. This just kind of makes it your one-stop shop for both the nootropics and the overall stim and the pump. It's really maxing out pretty much everything. The amount of value that you're getting in this pre-workout is absolutely insane. And then the next ingredient that I would like to highlight here, obviously you guys know, I didn't talk about this initially, but the difference between L-citrulline and citrulline malate, I'm sure if you follow Derek, you know about this, but a lot of companies used to put like 6 grams of citrulline malate, which is really 4 grams of citrulline. They decided to do 10 grams of pure L-citrulline, but they still have the malic acid in there, which is what citrulline malate is. And so they still have the malic acid in there. They didn't take that out. So just if you guys were, worried about that, it's still in there. So again, the pump is improved on this. They didn't take away anything from the pump. They just added, some nootropic and stim stuff. The next thing that was not even in this old formula, so that's really where we're kind of changing here, is the L-tyrosine, massive increase, but you still did get some of it in this product, so it's not necessarily like it wasn't there. But alpha GPC, which those of you guys who know me, alpha GPC I've been supplementing with for probably nearly 10 years at this point. I initially discovered it probably when I was like 18 years old, and so I guess not quite 10 years, but I have been using alpha GPC for a long time. It is both a potent nootropic as well as it's beneficial for your workout in terms of motor unit recruitment. So alpha GPC and tyrosine are probably my 2 favorite things to take pre-workout, to be honest with you. Obviously, I love the pump. I do still take nitric, but if I could really only pick 2, and this is over caffeine for me, I would rather have alpha GPC and tyrosine in pre-workout over pretty much anything else. And so they added alpha GPC into this formula, which in terms of motor unit recruitment, and again, you're stacking this with the betaine, which is helping you with power output. So you're really probably going to be hitting new PRs on a consistent basis, just considering that focus, the motor unit recruitment. You're kind of getting, a double dip there, considering you're getting the focus from the alpha GPC and the motor unit recruitment. Then you're getting the betaine and you're getting the focus from the tyrosine and just overall nootropic formula in here. It really, in my opinion, is just stands above all else in terms of pre-workouts. I mean, again, this was a great formula coming from somebody who loves nootropics. What they decided to put in here is amazing. So anyway, the alpha GPC dose that you are getting in here is 800 milligrams. And so I personally like to bump that up a little bit more. I like to take probably about a gram, 1.2 grams if I'm really, feeling crazy that day. And that's something that I used to achieve via Gorilla Mind Smooth. And so what I used to do is I would just take a whole bunch of caps of Smooth and I would stack it with nitric. And so that was kind of the way that I used to get down in terms of my pre-workout stuff. Now, all I have to do for me, if I want to get my 1 gram of alpha GPC, it's very easy to just add 1 or 2 caps of Gorilla Mind Smooth, or if I want to bring it up to 1200, it's a lot easier to get to that level. Okay, so for me, if you really want the maxed out dose of alpha GPC, you can add in Gorilla Mind Smooth on top, and you're going to get even more tyrosine if you do that, which again, tyrosine and alpha GPC is such a potent combo in my opinion. So 800 milligrams, that's going to be more than enough for pretty much everybody. And if you want to dial it down, the caffeine, you don't need the full 2 scoops. Obviously, you can bring that down, to the 400 mark if you want to do the single scoop, whatever you want to do. So for me, that alpha GPC at 800 milligrams, that's a really good idea to not bring it up to the full 1.2 grams that you get from a full serving of Gorilla Mind Smooth, just because it gives you the option to add more if you want. But again, 800 milligrams is still a very big dose, and I'm happy that they put in that much in there and put that ingredient in there at all. And then outside of that, just a couple differences in terms of just, minor things I don't think are that big of a deal. The caffeine is 400 milligrams on this versus 350. So technically it does have more caffeine. Is that going to make a massive difference? Probably not. I don't think anybody who is okay with 350 is not going to be okay with 400, or anybody who, didn't feel like 350 was enough. I don't think 400 is going to change the game, but I personally, like the idea that it's a nice round number. It's easy to kind of go, hey, I'm going to do 1 scoop, a scoop and a half. It's kind of easier math to do. But outside of that, the extra 50 milligrams, I don't think is that big of a deal. Another thing is they did add some pink Himalayan sea salt. So that's something I've always just historically thrown pink Himalayan into my pre-workout when I take it. So this has a gram of that Himalayan sea salt. So obviously, I love that, but that's something that I already put in my pre-workouts anyway. If you weren't doing that, this is a great way to get in that extra sodium, which is beneficial not only for getting the pump, but in terms of hydration, sodium is going to be one of your major things you want to focus on. And if you are dehydrated at all, which is one reason why I really like to do, water and glycerol, carbohydrates, and, salt and everything like that. If you are dehydrated before your workout, your power output is going to be significantly reduced. And so I always try to make an effort to be hydrated throughout my workouts. So adding in that salt is a great thing. But again, you can just throw in, pink Himalayan into your pre-workout if you want to do that as well, which is something I've done for years. So not that crazy of a difference. Another thing is they took out some problematic ingredients in here. Now, technically, these do have, positive effects. And so some people might not like to see them go. I personally think it's a good thing. So one is agmatine sulfate. It was a 1 gram serving if you took the 2 scoops here. Now, agmatine sulfate tastes disgusting. So I don't know if they did this just to improve the taste of it, but agmatine sulfate is a pump product. And so technically you're getting less of that overall pump experience taking that out, but considering you're getting the extra gram, of citrulline, considering you're getting more betaine, considering you're getting, that hydroprime and you're getting 4 grams instead of the 3 grams of glycerpump, I think the pump is more than kind of the trade-off is a much better situation than just having only the extra gram of agmatine sulfate. Plus, it's known to upset some people's stomachs. So if you've taken this in the past and you've had an upset stomach, the agmatine may be one reason why. And so that's definitely something to consider. It could also be the creatine. That's another thing that has that issue for some people. So I've taken agmatine sulfate in isolation in the past. I didn't think it was that much of a game changer in terms of increasing my pump. I don't remember what the dosage was. I just remember it tasted so horrible. So if you're taking that out of the pre-workout, that's a good thing in my opinion. And again, I don't feel like I'm missing out on any pump, so that's totally fine. And then another one is Kana. So Kana, this was at 500 milligrams in the old formula. They don't have it in the new formula. And so Kana, I'm definitely a fan of. I do think that it's a subtraction from the formula. However, I personally tend to go closer to a gram plus of Kana when I used to take it in the past. I haven't been taking it recently, but I did used to supplement with Kana in the past, and that was even before I tried Gorilla Mind. So having that Kana was a nice thing to see, but at 500 milligrams, for me personally, that wasn't making that much of a difference. And when you factor in you're adding in the L-tyrosine, I think the tyrosine does a much better, focus improvement, mood improvement, and stuff like that over the Kana. And so Kana has some people have negative reactions to it, and the 500 milligrams, in my opinion, for somebody who needed a higher dose, I don't think it was making that much of a difference. And so in terms of Kana potentially having a negative reaction to it in terms of the taste, again, kind of like agmatine sulfate, taking away Kana just to improve the taste, that's definitely a factor as well. But even for the people who do like Kana, 500 milligrams might not be enough, or at least that's true for me. I like to take it more closer to a gram of Kana when I was using it. So that's pretty much the only thing I can consider to be like a net negative potentially is the Kana. But again, considering some people just don't like it in general, considering the 500 milligrams is not that crazy of a dose, and you could definitely do more and get a better effect if you really want to go that route, and considering the bad taste of Kana in general. When you remove that, I think overall that's probably the majority of people will appreciate that Kana is out of there, but that's just something to note. So basically, tons of improvements, a couple subtractions that I actually think are positive things, but that's something to note. If agmatine sulfate or Kana are your favorite thing ever, then that's something to consider. Maybe you want to stack that on top or something like that. I also didn't mention this in terms of the exact scoop size and the difference in size here, but 31.8 grams in the original formula, and we're coming in at 40.6 grams for the second one. So this tub it doesn't seem that much bigger than this one, but that is a substantial increase. And if you look at the scoop of this thing, it's absolutely massive. I was like, holy, just considering, the difference between, let's say each scoop is 16 grams here, and then it's 20.3 grams here. It doesn't seem like it'd be that much of a difference in terms of scoop size. But when I was, taking this out, I was just very surprised. So not that that is really anything crazy, but considering the extra actives in here, the extra tyrosine and everything like that, it's taking up more space, extra gram of L-citrulline, you're going to have a huge scoop. So, yeah, absolutely thrilled with the formula. I mean, I couldn't have done it better myself. Obviously, Derek is the master formulator. That's what he's known for. And this is the best formula I've ever seen. And it's not even close. And people were starting to compete with the original formula. But still, people basically just said, Derek puts 9 grams of L-citrulline in his, and I used to do 4 grams. So let me bump it up a little bit. Like basically everybody tried to mimic the pure L-citrulline, take away the citrulline malate, add in, all these other ingredients that you never saw before in pre-workouts before the original Gorilla Mode. Now they're getting copied all the time, but it's still, the original formula, even all these years later, is still punching, with the big boys, arguably the best pre-workout to this day. But it's not an argument anymore because this is now out. As of me putting out this video, this is the best formula on the market, bar none. And I'm really thrilled for you guys to try this. So if you do want to pick this up, I do have a code Cooper is going to save you 10% off. And that is true of any Gorilla Mind product. This one I absolutely recommend picking up. I think it's the best formula on the market. And again, I'm thrilled for you guys to try it. I think it's a game changer. I am now officially a mode guy. I'm probably not even going to be using nitric after experiencing this and looking at this label. And so, yeah, absolutely thrilled. So anyway, that's all I got to say about that. I'll keep you updated, and I'll talk to you soon.